Alrighty. Let's actually get on with it. Hello, Heaven Flower. Greetings. Hello, Maria. I see you there. Abby, welcome. Late to the party, but that's okay. Leo season is just officially in the last few seconds of unwinding. That's okay. Go on to Virgo next. And Necessary Truth. I see you there. Wow. It's an honor to have you all here. I'm just going to finish the Astrodoodle, so bear with me. It'll just be a few minutes while I color everything in. I like to make it look pretty. We have a few stressful, oddball things going on. Sun more or less opposing Jupiter. That's not the end of the world. And we have another opposition here. This is the Virgo-Pisces opposition. This is the Leo-Aquarius opposition. We just had the full moon yesterday, and the moon is already now moved into Pisces over here. So this is kind of awkward here. These are oppositions sitting on top of oppositions. I'm going to put in a loose square here because it's still pretty stressful, and we have to admit it's there. I'm going to add another one, which is basically another opposition here. I mean, I don't really like to labor on Chiron too much, and we have enough problems in life as it is. But there's another opposition here. Okay, so that's a lot of polarity going on at the same time. Also, we have a quirky thing going on with the lunar node. Okay, over here, the north node, and the south node, of course, is over here. So let's just fill that in. It's a quirky. I like to call it sacred geometry. It's constantly, perpetually in motion, and it's a sweet thing. It's a question of how do we deal with it. So I'm just going to add this other thing with the. Okay, here's the Gemini North Node over here. That's the sort of collective journey where we're trying to get our facts right. We're trying to live in truth. Factual information, clear communications, and news, and mass media, and our own personal intercommunications between ourselves and each other. And as you can tell, it's highly distressed and distorted right now. So I'm going to add that in here. So it looks pretty messy, but we can handle it. Anyway, there is one sweet spot here, which is, I think, helping out like the general vibes of humanity, and that's this big, fat, grand trine onto the North Node over here. I'll just show you. Okay? So we got Venus sweetly connected to Saturn. Thank God. Mercy, And then this is very sweetly aligned to the North Node here. So this provides a very harmonious, I would say like a sweet, soft, gentle pillow to a lot of stressful aspects that are happening right now. Actually, I should really add the sextile here with Capricorn and Pisces. Well, yeah, yes, I should. There's not much room, so I'm just going to fill it in here. But anyway, what did Dickens say? It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So we have these oppositions here. Now, each of them has a different theme, but ultimately it would be felt in terms of relationships. Okay? Let's say in each opposition there's you and the other, or you and the other. You and the other, you and the other, you and the other, you and the other. And by the other party, I mean anything and everyone that is not you, but who is a significant character in your life, for better or worse, because oppositions represent the house of open enemies. It doesn't matter where the opposition lies. We're talking about the energy of direct face-to-face interaction, and that shows up in relationships. Greetings, All Son. You know what, All Son? I owe you one. I'm going to put your post-it note up here right now. All Son. There you go. That's yours. So there we go. Yep, now, so tonight is just another night like any other night, but, I like to look at the charts every day. Sadly, I only see you guys once a week, and I just present things are for that moment, and perhaps with a bit of a glimpse ahead, but not too much. I'm not a fortune teller. I just like to live with things as they are. So with all this opposition energy going on right now, to me it feels like we are all being very, let's say, thoroughly pressured to examine ourselves more and more, above and beyond the normal. I'm not saying force yourself to look in front of the mirror for hours and examine your complexion or anything like that, but instead consider your sense of self, identity, behavior, life path, decisions that you make in terms of how all of that plays out as witnessed and reflected back to you by these significant others. I'm going to illustrate that in a moment. And let's do it in a way that is very pure, honest, and truthful, and loving and harmonious, as indicated by this big fat grand trine. And I'm taking the focal point as the north node here, where instead of allowing ourselves and each other and our loved ones to, slip through life in a state of mediocrity, we are now, let's say, coalescing into this mutual pool of, how could I describe this? Of a pool of raising standards on ourselves and each other. Because in these polarities, these aspects of opposition, you are also, remember, a significant mirror to the other parties, in some other party in their world. Okay? So I personally, I'm just going to go over here and share this. Greetings. Whoa, Indigo. Hello, Indigo. I see that. Thank you. Woohoo. Super duper. I can't complain. Thank you, Indigo. Yeah, anyone else you want a reading? It's by donation. A lot of people who come here are kind of familiar with the format on this little show. So that's normal. But in case you're a complete newbie, I saw somebody, Heaven Flower. Greetings, Heaven Flower. For example, I'm not familiar. So the way people do things on the show is that if, let's say you want to get a little live mini reading. If you have your PayPal account, you can send money directly to a little book about at yahoo.com. That's my email. Okay. The other thing that you can do is a super chat, which is exactly what Indigo Williams did just now, and that actually shows up here on the chat. And the way you do that, so Heaven Flower, I'm addressing you directly, but anyone else who's listening who's never done this before, it's the same story. So just below where you're typing, there's a little gray box with a dollar sign in it. You click that and it opens up a payment processor, and then you go from there. The other thing you can do is you can do it by PayPal through, or another card through Terra Lumination donation. You go to terralumination.com, perhaps on another device or another new tab or something on your computer, and you find the donate page, which is over here. Click the donate button, and then you can purchase the reading that way. It's basically a donation, so I don't declare these things, all right? Anyway, those are the three pathways. TerraLumination.com donate button, or your own PayPal going directly to TerraLumination email here, a little book about at yahoo.com, or you can do the super chat button over there. Anyway, I just want to let you know. Yes, Indigo, we definitely we can do a blind reading, no problem. All right, so let me get over here for a second. Greetings, yes, it's working. Hello, good evening, welcome. This is TerraLumination. I hope you're all okay. We just had a beautiful, beautiful full moon over here in sunny, hot Las Vegas. It was very clear last night and actually cooled down enough to be able to sit down outside in the late evening and enjoy a nice little beverage. It was wonderful. Just wonderful. Anyway, back to the Astrodoodle. The reason I was harping on so much about the oppositions and how oppositions are so valuable because that's the most, I'd say, direct and vivid type of reflection that we can get from anyone or anything. So if I was doing a personal reading for you and we did the astrology as well, and we pulled up your chart, it takes a lot of homework. Yes, thank you. Apple juice, exactly. It's highly flammable apple juice, by the way. And you can use it to run automobiles that run on liquid fuel. But I have my own purposes. Anyway, when you pull up a chart, I look for all sorts of things in a chart, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I have a very simplified method, and you can get very complicated if you want to, and there are astrologers who will happily go there with you, and they usually charge a lot of money, and they use a lot of computer softwares and things, and it's great up to a point. And they do work up to a point. But I have a sort of like artsy-fartsy background. I'm more or less like an artist, writer, and musician by nature. I also have a kind of scientific, quirky, mechanical side. And I'm a bit of a compassion junkie, which I have to keep heavily, heavily under guard. But when I look at someone else's chart, and I'm considering them as a whole person, a whole soul being, I look for certain things. And one of the big ones I look for is oppositions, just to see if there are any very important relationship dynamics that need to be considered when we do the diagnosis. But anyway, it's in the condition or state of opposition where we have this tremendous opportunity to learn so much and grow so much thanks to the other party, which represents the mirror. You could do it like this, you can do it like this. You and the other, you and the other. And in the opposition, if you look at the sacred geometry, it is 180 degrees apart. So what happens is you get a full face. It's like standing in front of a full face, full floor-to-ceiling mirror with no distortions, no wobbly bits, no weird angles, side lights or anything, no amusement park distortions, nothing like that. So it's very stark, and there's nowhere to hide. And that's the beautiful thing about oppositions, is that there's nowhere to hide. So you're dealing with stark reality. And a lot of people don't like that, so they try to, let's say, maneuver themselves and present themselves like through a facade, for example. It might show up in their chart somewhere else that they have aspects that indicate there's a temptation to present oneself with a facade that is not the genuine self. We all have that to some degree. But anyway, going back to the astrodoodle, I might go over here. With so many oppositions happening simultaneously, it would be natural to kind of step back a little bit from your life and your world and your activities and just ponder what exactly is going on between yourself and these significant others. In my case, in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 days or so, I've had a tremendous amount of emails and intercommunications with close friends and family. And we are kind of all like intermingling. And it's been really delightful because I'm learning a lot about myself, and I'd like to feel that I'm actually providing very valuable reflection to my loved ones as well. So to me this makes a lot of sense, and I don't take it personally. I don't get offended because I've done a lot of homework on myself. I'm less likely to present myself as a facade. And so when I relate to someone or someone relates to me, you pretty much get what you see. That's it, you know. And so it makes things simple. And simple's not easy, but simple is good because people know where they are. And so when you add in this big, fat, beautiful, grand trine between Venus, ruler of relationships and love, Saturn being tested in how those love and relationship dynamics are portrayed and carried in the community in a way that's authentic and true, as indicated by the Gemini North Node here, which applies to all of us, then this is a good thing. Because this is very good. Basically, the whole of humanity would be advised to operate this way. Now, of course, there are certain, let's say, components of humanity for whom this is a problem. Because there are certain components of humanity which I'm not going to really talk about here, but you could call them the KABAL or the ELITES that are propagating a massive, let's say, cancerous, evil agenda across planet Earth. And that's all done through artifice, facade, lies, betrayal, deception. Okay? Very heavy emphasis on the Pisces energy, which has, sadly been exploited by manipulators, like fake communications, okay? And so on. I used to do those Wednesday shows where I really kind of started to rant about my personal views and things about the world and society. And I lost quite a few members that way because everyone assumed that I'm some kind of super, perhaps like a lefty, love everybody kind of person. But I'm not. I'm really... Anyway, I don't want to go into that. But anyway, the point is that this is a moment of what's happening tonight with us now here on planet Earth, for all of us on planet Earth. This is a tremendous moment in time to recalibrate ourselves in how we are presenting ourselves to the world and how we are interpreting the world as it comes to us, especially in the form of relationships or significant others. For example, for myself, what I'm looking at through here, I'm looking at the lens outward to the rest of the world, and it includes this surge in communications and heartfelt connections with friends and family, and at the same time I'm looking at the whole of planet Earth as an entity, as if Earth had its own, birth chart, which I guess it does if I could go back 4.5 billion years and make an astrodoodle. But then the solar system didn't exist, so we wouldn't have any of this. Okay, anyway, so enough of that. I'll get into a deep hole if I'm not careful. So, So, no matter how tough things are for you right now, in whatever aspect of your life, this is a tremendous opportunity to basically stand firm, stand still, present yourself to the world exactly as you are, how you are, who you are, and allow for the gift of sacred reflection to come back to you so that you can prosper and grow and evolve accordingly. And then, in turn, you can, depending on how authentic you are in how you represent yourself, if you're not shrouded in confusion and conflict or radiating mixed signals in your aura, then you can be a more and more valuable gift to humanity, okay? So, there we go. Now, of course, as we do with the Astrodoodles, this applies to you as well as anyone else, okay? This is for planet Earth. Now I'm putting Aries on the horizon here. But depending on your own personal chart, these aspects, well, these transits, remember, these little circles here represent the planets whizzing around in our solar system, and on an Earth-centric astrology system like I do here, we observe everything as if all of this is orbiting around us here on Earth, like we are the center of the universe. Which, you know, for a lot of people, that's how they operate, as though they literally are above and beyond the laws of nature. And they end up basically abusing this energy. But from a neutral perspective, this could apply to you anywhere. For example, if you are a Cancerian sun rising, you would be impacted in this way. The transits would land on certain trigger points in your chart this way. And if you're a Libra, it would look this way. Okay, if you're a Capricorn, it would look this way, and so on. But either way, the raw ingredients are there for all of us, and it's up to us to make the best of it. So there you go. We will keep this on hand because the chances are we're going to use this through some of the readings. Hello, Love Triber, I see you. Love Triber's answer to everything. If there's a problem, just eat a BLT. I totally get it. There, let's see. Okay, so, yeah. Okay. So, cheers. Thank you for being here. So we've got 2 readings lined up already. And I want to just scroll through here the chat to see if I missed something. Okay, we just arrived. Okay, hello Abby. Greetings. I hope you're not in any of the fire districts. I doubt whether you are, because I know you live right by the ocean. Fantastic. Fantastic. And necessary, you're way out there on the East Coast. You might be getting slammed by those storms. And Maria, you're over there in Arkansas, so you should be okay. But I think there's been quite a lot of rain coming over. Also up here in the Northeast, yeah. And there was a big shutdown tonight in Manhattan. I think for some big, celebrity festival thing about something or other. Lots of big names and big stars. And it was supposed to be sort of like some kind of dazzling thing to, bring some light and love back to Manhattan, New York. But apparently they just canceled the whole thing out because of the storm. So there you go. Indigo, please remind me, where are you? I keep forgetting locations. Looks like we have a very tiny crowd tonight. That's okay. I don't really mind. Gosh, I remember the times when we had thousands of views per video. Now I'm lucky to get it at 20 or 50. Alright, let's have a look. I went just over here. How did I lose that? Okay, so I'm messing with the technology. Yeah, just let me get my little map here. I love that. So, I've been having some very interesting conversations and learning a lot during the last week. I don't know what's going on with all of you folks, but how about this? Luckily, because of this channel, I've been very lucky to make friends all over the world. From New Zealand. Okay, Indigo is over there in Dallas. Let's just make that point here. So I was talking about Dallas. Okay, there's Dallas. So Indigo's over there in Dallas. Love Triber's there in Las Vegas. TL is here in Las Vegas. Necessary Truth is up here, just around New York. All Sun's right up there. Arvona is right up there. Heaven Flower, where are you? I'm very curious. Are you still here, Heaven Flower? Are you just hanging out? Or are you going to get a reading or just observe or whatever? Just eat popcorn, enjoy the show? So I'm always curious. Sometimes we get visitors from New Zealand and Australia. We also get visitors from India and Libya. And we've got visitors from South America and several over in the Northern Europe area, and over here in Western Canada. So it kind of goes all over. I'm really proud of that. So yeah, I'm so grateful. I wish I could do more than I do. But hey, we all do what we can. So, oh God, I was just going to make a point here. Oh yeah, I remember now what I was talking about. So, if you look at this entity here, this is a little piece of land that we call the United States, and it's all being carved up and allocated, and every square inch of land is now recorded on some kind of government record somewhere, for property rights, mineral rights, water rights, political leanings, and so on and so on. And it's all been pretty well mapped out, and it's been growing and growing and growing in this, let's say, framework for about 250 years, when this place called the United States was formalized back in 1776. But you have to remember that there was a lot of activity before 1776. I've been reading things from this big fat book that I love to look at. See this thing here? I got it at a thrift store. It's just amazing. It's really old, but it's full of really juicy stuff, and you can pull it up on any page and there's always something interesting. And what I was learning the other day is that I can't find the right page for it. It's just random. Anyway, this is the book. I can't find the right page, but it's very clear. See, it's called The Last 2 Million Years. I'm not a historian, so don't quote me on anything, and anything that I say, is, let's say, influenced by my own personal beliefs and so on. But anyway, the point I was trying to make is that this landmass was here for a long time before it ever looked like this on an atlas or a map. And for a very, very long period of time, it was very underpopulated compared to what things are in the world today. Right now, today, we have 7.5 billion people. 200 years ago, we only had about, 1 or 2 billion across the whole of Earth. So it took 200,000 years for humanity to reach 1 billion people, and then it took 200 years for humanity to reach 7.5 billion people. So as you can tell, we have become so successful, so dominant, so prominent, that we have turned into a massive, like a weed, that has covered the whole planet. And the trail is now obvious. It's everywhere. There's evidence of our poop and our pee all across the world, in all the oceans, all the pollution that we live everywhere. I'm not going to be a saint here tonight and condemn everybody who pollutes Earth, because I'm a polluter just as much as anyone else. Okay, so, and we're all interlinked whether we like it or not, okay? America, the United States of America, is effectively what used to be called an empire, okay? And the ages of empires grew over hundreds of thousands of years. Well, really tens of thousands, or actually more, like over the last 3,000 or 4,000 years, which in terms of astronomy, astrology, and geology is nothing. But, going back, we're looking at the migration of early hominids from Central Africa all across the world, to India, to China, parts of Europe and over here, and then migrating across the great thing, whatever it's called, I can't remember, over here, and humans arriving over here. But all these lands over here were only populated by humans in the last couple thousand years. So it's nothing really. This went back tens of thousands of years. Okay? So anyway, what we now call history has played out all over the world here. And we had things that we can call the Egyptian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the British Empire, and most recently, the American Empire. Now, personally, I don't believe that America set out to be an empire, but that's effectively what happened. And we've reached this culmination point where we can't really go any farther. We have propagated ourselves and our culture across the whole of planet Earth in the last 200 years, which happens to occur within one single Pluto cycle. Okay? So the history of the last 250 years is so different from all the history before that. And I'm marking that very definitively as the date 1776. And some of you know I wrote a book about this stuff. But from the late 15 and 1600s onwards, this landmass over here that we now call the United States was being heavily explored and exploited by adventurers and missions from these ancient empires over here, because 200, 300 years ago they had very old-fashioned wooden sailing boats, which were very advanced in their day, but they look very primitive to us today. But the Nordics, like 10,000 years ago, the Nordics were already building longboats and traveling over here and here, and had already visited North America way before Columbus or the conquistadors over here from Spain. So humanity has known about this place for a long time, but the people who were here first, the indigenous tribes like Native Americans and Incas and so on, came from this direction. And they had very little obstruction, and their world was very different from over here, because over here, where they were building castles and temples and discovering astronomy and creating things like math and physics and art and Mona Lisas and painting and everything, over here it was sticks and stones and feathers and twigs, and like I would say a much more simple life. And then the great migrations occurred over the last 250 years, from here and from here, and the slave trade from Africa and the slave trade from India over to here. And of course what happened is, very rapidly, humanity started to propagate all over the world in a multicultural way that we think of as normal today. But back in the day, when the English army arrived over here and they bumped into the Native Americans, it was like, what the bleep? Who on earth are these people? Look at these scary freaks. These are savages. They're covered in fur and feathers and carrying long sticks, and they look like they're going to kill us. Well, I'm not surprised. We were considered invaders from over here. But anyway, fast forward to today. This little blob here, in the last 200 or 300 years, accelerated so rapidly in terms of like evolution compared to thousands of years of evolution over here and 10,000 years of evolution over here. We're only looking at 200 or 300 or 400 years over here. And for this area to turn into, like, I would say, the dominant energy field across planet Earth. And so now, today, we operate across planet Earth in such a way that this place, the United States, with its culture, has now propagated all across planet Earth. And we all benefit and suffer in one way or another because of this. And right now, everything has coalesced. Good evening, JGF, okay? Everything has coalesced into a kind of a standoff where, as we expanded and grew, we facilitated the expansion and growth of other places and other cultures because we have a very Aquarian nature where we kind of wanted to reach out and, allegedly support and help humanity to evolve and enjoy the tremendous benefits that we enjoy over here in America. But of course there was a shadow side, as we all know now today. And things have turned very ugly to the point where something so beautiful has become extremely sick and unhealthy. And the sickness over here, sorry to condemn America, but the United States is very, very sick right now as an entity. If you look at the United States as a person, and I did their astrology, I would look at their charts and I'd say, you are extremely sick. You are extremely unhealthy. And it's just like toxic black mold. It's spreading across the earth. And the reciprocal energy is happening over here. Think opposition. Boing, boing. The two big polar oppositions on planet Earth today on a human scale is China and America. Chinerica is what I call it. And it's becoming more and more obvious because I see this on global communications, so that despite all the censorship and propaganda that is happening here, as if this was the only place that existed to Americans, the reality is there's a whole lot of other stuff going on out here. And this energy that's going on out here, where there's a lot of people who realize that there's something very, very wrong with what's happening in America, it's starting to seep into the American consciousness despite the massive coordinated attempts with propaganda to stop the truth, okay? The people at the very tippity top who are orchestrating what I think of as this massive fraud against humanity, from which they benefit personally. It's like an extremely private elite club. They operate through lies, deception, betrayal, theft, robbery, manipulation, especially through the financial markets like currencies and so on. But now they're taking it to the next stage where it's orchestrated sabotage to destroy this thing for the benefit of the elite, so that they can turn what is now a highly individualized global population and turn it into one massive communist empire. The problem is their plan isn't going very well. They actually thought and believed that their silly little bug was going to destroy at least 2 or 3 billion people so that they can achieve step 1 of their agenda, which is to radically depopulate planet Earth and then take over everything else with robots. And it's not working very well. Sorry. And so finally, it's starting to leak inside the United States to the masses, despite the censorship and the screening and the fraud and everything, all the fake information that's propagated, more and more Americans are starting to realize there's something very, very wrong with this picture. Anyway, I was saying all this till I was just trying to kind of wake you up, like figure out like, oh, where do I belong in this picture? It's a really good question. Where do you belong in this picture? Who are you really? What are your beliefs? What are your understandings? How aware are you about how much this picture affects this picture? Because we're all in it together. There's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to hide. This is it, people. This is a box. We all live in this box like rats in a cage. And it's starting to show. There you go. I didn't mean to scare you. That's my little micro rant. So I at least get some of it out of my system. Hopefully I vented in such a way that I didn't scare anybody or poison anybody with my tongue. Anyway, let's go back to a civilized YouTube channel where we do things like mini readings. Anyway, so I got 2 readings booked so far, so let's just get on with it. If there's anybody out there who wants a mini reading, please let me know. I already told you how to do it. But in the meantime, let's get on with that. I'm going to put these away. Give me a second. I need to clear some space. JGF, I know you've been here times before, but it's been many, many months now. Maybe a minute, maybe a year, if I recall. Give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to put this stuff away. We're going to clear the stage and we're going to get on with your readings. Thanks, everybody. Everything that I just said is me and my personal opinions, okay? I have my opinions, you have your opinions, but it's important to verify. Opinions aren't necessarily facts, but I collect most of my information from what I believe are genuine, honest, true, authentic sources of information, and I filter out all the garbage, the propaganda in which we are saturated here in the United States. Gotta put this over here. I love the United States, but really, we are a very sick country at this moment in time. God help us. So there we go. So I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to read for Alsan. I owe you one, Alsan. Thank you very much. If you don't mind, I'll probably just do a blind reading. See what the heck comes up. After Alsan, we have Indigo. We'll go from there. Oh, what was I going to say? I had something... No, that's it. Okay. Alright, let me pick out some deck here. Okay. Now, the deck's already shuffled in advance, but I'm going to go again to the last second so that you're a witness, like I do. Thank you very much. So sit down, relax. If you have to, sit on your hands or load up with popcorn or focus your glasses or top up your beverage, which is what I'm going to do. By the way, I wanted to say thank you for the people who actually do book these live mini readings on the show, because this is a public forum. Sometimes when I, each week when I go back to the channel, I look and I can see that, maybe 100 or 150 people had a look at the show. And so it's a kind of a courageous thing to do to actually get your own personal mini reading live in a public forum like this, because it's because it's personal. I try to deliver the readings in the public forum in such a way that nobody would be outright offended or hurt or anything like that. But sometimes the themes and the messages that come across are very, let's say, delicate. Go, all sun, yay. Now let's bless this deck. Bless this whole deck. Bless every single card. Bless the cameras and the lights and the electricity and the microphones and all the multiple softwares and technology and code writing and platforms that allow me to do this at all. Despite the troubles, I'm actually very proud of my little channel. And I'm kind of amazed that we're still going at all. I love doing this, but it's very hard to do this effectively in a way that could be good for the masses if you don't have the algorithm on your side. Sadly, that was removed. Alright, let's have a look. Alright, all sun, I hope you're sitting comfortably. Alright, let's do this. Hold on. Give me a second. Chug-a-lug, 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 chug-a-lug. Cheers. Alright, let's see. Here we go. Give me a second. I just want to settle in. I just want to make my body feel comfortable, so I'm doing a little bit of a stretchy thing here. Hey, JGF. I know you've been here quite a few times before, but can you remind everybody what's your location? I'm, you know how I am with these maps and these things. You know, Terra Lumination is over here. Okay, and I already referenced pretty much everyone else here tonight on the show, but I'd love to know it. I'd love to see it on the screen. If you're willing to share, JGF, where are you? And we'll just point it out here on the map. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Last minute cut. There we go. Dear, oh dear, hold on a minute. Whoa, things got really bumpy just then. I just need to come double check something. Give me a second, all son. It felt very strange the way that chopped and bounced around. Hey, Karen, what's up? Go New Zealand. I hear that New Zealand is starting to get glimpses of springtime. You're coming out of your winter. Kia ora. Yeah, hello Karen. We've been going for about, oh gosh, an hour already, and I haven't even started the first reading yet. Sorry about that. But anyway, welcome. Thank you, Karen. I just want to point that out for everyone. Thank you also. Give me another second here. So Karen is visiting this evening, well, the early afternoon for Karen. Karen is over here in New Zealand. Actually, if you see that, New Zealand, okay? Right at the tip of my finger, at the, you see it's two islands. It's actually two islands, but it's one country. And Karen is right there at the south of the North Island, if that makes sense to you. Okay, so there you go. I was doing a rant earlier, Karen. I was doing a rant about all these global perspectives I had, and about global communications and truth versus false and that kind of thing. And how humanity has almost become its own worst enemy now. we've become so, let's say, successful as a species, and we've actually become a problem now. Doing some gardening. Excellent. Excellent. It's almost impossible to garden here properly, Karen, because Lake Mead is now in a federal emergency shutdown. Las Vegas is actually over here. I'll just show you. Just as a reference point. I'll be there in a minute, Olson, don't worry. Okay, there's New Zealand, southern hemisphere. Here's United States, northern hemisphere. New Zealand is roughly the same distance from the equator south as Las Vegas is north, okay? Yeah, I know New Zealand is in lockdown again. In a way, you know, you New Zealanders are lucky because you've probably got the least amount of contamination on planet Earth compared to some places. But the problem is you are also, I mean, if you can look at the map, you can see very clearly how isolated things can be for the New Zealanders. They're way over here. This is like almost 2,000 miles to get from, you know, Auckland to Sydney. You know, that's like a 5-hour plane ride. Anyway, so yeah, so Karen, hello Tina, greetings, haven't seen you for a while, I hope things are good. So Karen is over there in New Zealand, just wanted to point that out. And over here, like New Zealand is a very green, luscious, abundant country. It has rain, has 4 seasons. It's very rugged in places, it's very beautiful, and it's very sparsely populated compared to most countries. Over here, this is Las Vegas, okay? Over here, this is desert. A lot of this area here is just raw desert. And through sabotage and arson and political, let's say, I don't know what the betrayal. We're at a point now where these states here, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, California, are starting to experience drought on a scale never before known. And what used to be like quaint, historical, localized water wars between farmers and cities is now turning into a major water war for the whole of the western United States. Because the water sources for most of these cities and towns and farms across the western United States come from the Rockies in the Colorado or the Sierras in California. And then it's distributed by pipelines and aqueducts everywhere, and rivers and dams, and that's fine. But things are really screwed up right now, and thank you, Uranus and Taurus, which is just being itself. The global climate is undergoing a lot of shock and change right now. And so, as much as I would love to have a natural garden here in Las Vegas, it's almost impossible. Because a few weeks ago, it was 49 and actually 50 degrees Celsius on one day. You can't farm in that kind of weather, let alone garden. Also, Lake Mead, which is right here, is drying up. It's on federal lockdown because there's no more water coming from over here. And so Las Vegas is a booming city in terms of construction, housing development, and population growth. But they seem to be completely oblivious to the fact that there's shrinking water supplies. Dramatically shrinking water supplies. And that's just in terms of nature, let alone sabotage. Anyway, I don't mean to scare you. Tina Miller, check your PayPal. Uh-oh. Thank you, Tina. I'll do that. I trust you completely, so I'm just going to put it up here. Tina Miller. It says Tina Miller. My fearless, brave puppy doesn't like water. Oh my God. Hey, Tina, if you feel like it, share your story a little bit more with the others. I'll give others a clue. Dear viewers, Tina Miller is the proud owner of a, what they call, I forgot the initials that you use for, like a sniffer dog who goes around helping in emergencies, a cadaver dog, a search and rescue dog, SAR dog. And sometimes, you know, that involves water. But apparently, Tina's fearless, brave puppy does not like water. It's okay. Don't worry. All right, Tina, I'm going to put you up here. You get your card right now. There you go. Thank you very much, Tina. Much appreciated. I'm just, that's the holding. This is the green room over here. This is where you hang around, you sit in the green room, you chat with all the other talent that's here for the evening, and you check your hair, makeup, and wardrobe, and the concierge for the evening checks you out, makes sure that you're good and ready to go for when you come on stage live, where we are right now with All Sun. Thank you very much, people. Here we go. This is it. We're actually going to do it now. So, Tina, dock diving, it sounds like basically your wonderful puppy has to jump off the side of a dock in very dangerous conditions and look and sniff and swim for people who are in deep trouble. Human remains that were thrown into a river, a lake, a stream, or an ocean. This almost feels like the Twilight Zone here tonight. We're talking about dock diving, human remains. Oh, God. All right, anyway. All right, All Sun, here we go. All of a sudden, I don't know why, but I just got a sudden flashback of something from a long time ago when we were doing something online. I remember very vividly you showing something to me and a few other people, something that was very shiny and silver, and you hold it in your hand and it goes bang bang. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I can empathize, all right? I hope you understand. I saw it. I knew I had a card freaking out over here somewhere. I just saw it. Where? See, there it is. Wheel of Fortune. I don't do jumpers, flyers, or anything like that, so don't take it seriously. I got you, man. I see you, man. I see you, man. I see you. I got you. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. I was doing some sessions and practice rehearsals the other evening with Love Tribe regarding her own little gadget. Here we go, lads. Okay, All Sun, this is it. You just imagine you're at a pool party and everybody has been kind of rallied up and said, okay, it's All Sun's reading now, and you're standing there by the pool just in your trunks, and everybody is relaxing on their lounge chairs waiting for the pontifications from Tarot Lumination. So, how goes it? Yeah. All right, here we go. Going blind, people. Whatever comes up is whatever comes up. I love doing the blind readings, by the way. Alright, so that's it. We're going to put it out. This is the same old spread I do all the time. I feel like Wheel of Fortune. It's just the same old, format over and over again. But I don't care. I know maybe I should create variety, but honestly, I like to do what works, okay? Hold on a second, also. I'm just seeing the note there from Tina. Tina Miller says, no, TL, dock diving is a sport where dogs run and jump off a dock into a special pool where the dog that just jumps the furthest wins. And what the SAR team does when it is too hot to train. Oh my God! Oh, that sounds amazing. Oh my God, I'd love to witness that. Thank you, Tina, for explaining. Alright, all son, this is it. Here we go. I'm using the same old diagnostic spread. It's kind of like when you go into an ice cream store or a cookie store and you can say, can I have a scoop of vanilla? Or can I have a bag of chocolate chip cookies? Yeah, it's boring, but it works. Thank you very much. Sorry. I'm not saying I'm boring, but it's just, how can you argue with a scoop of vanilla or a little pack of chocolate chip cookies? So anyway, here we go. Also, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at the surrounding influences, which of course I usually default to the planets. And it will have this theme. Okay. 10 of Pentacles. Oh. Well, I see this as very nice for you overall, in such a way that you could, let's see, you could pat yourself on the back with this 10 of Pentacles surrounding you here. To me, it feels like what we're talking about is that, okay, remember, all sun. Well, I know because there's a strong Aquarian influence in your world. There's a strong Aquarian influence in the transits, okay? So you got the heavy presence of Saturn in Aquarians. Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn the great teacher. Saturn punishes when you do not perform or deliver according to the laws of nature. Saturn rewards when you deliver and perform according to the laws of nature. It's how we grow and mature. Jupiter just expands all of it. Jupiter just wants everything to be good all the time. In some ways, of course, Jupiter and Saturn kind of work against each other. They're almost diametrically opposing in terms of energy fields. Jupiter's like, come on, man, give a guy a break. Let's keep going. Let's do the most awesome stuff we can, and we'll worry about the problems later. Okay, but anyway, so with the 10 of Pentacles here, we're definitely talking about money. Money and independence. Sorry, the 9 of Pentacles. Money and independence, and let's say, to me this looks like a golden opportunity. I don't know if that's what you're actually sensing in your life, in your world now personally. It's just that with the 9 of Pentacles, it's a very private, personalized energy, and it's very much to do with second house energies like talents, gifts, resources, values, and beliefs, okay, which I would associate with here, okay, Uranus and Taurus. Now, the Aquarian energy clashes. However, we learn so much from these squared angles here. So my feeling is that with the 10 of Pentacles, that is, I'm basically going to cover myself here, like I'm playing both sides. Like, on the good side, whatever stresses that you're dealing with in your life regarding finances, it's actually all part of a journey to greater and greater independence when it comes to your finances. And so that it's almost like you can become, just by keeping at it, you can become a master of your own destiny when it comes to your finances. It's almost talking about the energy of being fully and utterly self-employed, where you don't really answer to, let's say, a traditional employer, which you would not know personally. Private contracting, that's a whole other thing. That's one-on-one, person-to-person dynamics. And a lot of business in America is conducted that way, with private contractors. And so what I'm sensing here with the Nine of Pentacles is that this is a time to assess your life, evaluate your life, and remember, please remember, everybody, that we're dealing with a massive wall of retrogrades right now. So this is for your reading also, but it actually applies to everybody. Right now, as of here, Sunday the 22nd, right here, Sunday the 22nd, the whole of planet Earth, the whole of humanity is now dealing with not only 4, but now 5 retrogrades, big ones. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So this is a tremendous time to basically go deep diving into your own personal world and figure out and discover and learn about anything and everything that's not working for you. Whether it's because of your own deficiencies, failings, losses, laziness, lack of awareness, or whether it's because of someone or something else's impact on you because they are not operating from their best energy. But either way, there's nowhere to hide with this, all son. There's nowhere to hide in this kind of situation with this Nine of Pentacles here. The energy field is very much about financial integrity, financial independence, where you do not base your future on the finances of another person. In other words, you take care of your own business, you mind your own business, and anything from there onwards, if it does involve other people, it involves other people in a way that of joint finances, where you're bringing, basically it's like you're bringing something really significant to the table, okay? And that's, to me, that looks like a really good thing. To me, this looks like a very useful, important time period for you to take advantage of it. Even though in the details it might be awkward or uncomfortable, it looks to me that what's going on here is you're in a situation where you can optimize your talents, gifts, and resources in a way that is best for you, in a truly honest, most integral way, because that's what's best for everybody. I hope that makes sense. What's the situation itself? Okay. Now, this is a completely different energy field. This is very much to do with heart, soul, emotional energy. The Four of Cups here, it might indicate that despite this, to me this looks like energy of opportunity. You might not feel it or sense it as opportunity right now because, for all I know, you're having financial challenges. However, those challenges, I believe, on the grander scale, are very much to do with your chance to consolidate yourself into a bigger, better version of you when it comes to your physical reality of life here on earth. In other words, especially when it comes to finances. Like, for example, I am having better contractual agreements, better contractual outcomes, more authentic relationship dynamics with other people. anyone and everything that you encounter, because you're becoming more and more truthfully aligned with your gifts and talents and resources, and how that translates into this very simple thing called money, which is fundamental. It's like blood, it's like oxygen, air, water, food to our life, whether we like it or know it or not. So this is very, to me, this is very encouraging. But it feels to me like with the Four of Cups here, it's almost like I wish this wasn't happening. I wish I didn't have to mature, grow, and evolve in this path, in this direction, because in some ways it actually hurts. Because, to me it feels like I've already done good things. I am all sun. I am a bringer of light and awakening to others. And I have, let's say, projected and shared and, let's say, informed about the healing power of love to anyone and everything and anywhere in life as part of my natural operating system, my natural business model already. And yet, I'm feeling frustrated and lost and neglected and ignored and unappreciated. Even though I'm already doing my best, even though I'm already all sun, and I'm already gifted and talented in my own ways, and I'm doing the best I can to take it to the best level. To me, this looks like a very, very sensitive, very delicate, awkward reading where we've kind of touched on a nerve, where it's just like, ooh, ouch. When you go to a doctor's appointment and you walk in, you don't really want to be there. And you tell them basically everything's okay, and they do their standard diagnostics, and they say, oh, so okay, all of a sudden it's just a routine visit. And then they discover, like, oh dear, ooh, I'm sorry, all of a sudden I have to tell you that we've got a very awkward, delicate subject here. It's to do with, like, to me it feels like with the Ace of Cups here, does anybody understand? I mean, this is going to be a very odd way to interpret the Four of Cups, but for you, all sun, that would be perfectly okay. What I'm sensing here with the Four of Cups for you, all sun, is that, like, you do so much already, but does anybody notice or does anybody care at the level to which you believe that you deserve to be recognized and loved and appreciated? I hope that makes sense. I hope my language didn't offend or anything, because to me it looks like you're halfway between this. As you know, I've talked about this card many times before. Energy flows where attention goes. And it feels to me like you are perfectly aware that this miniature Ace of Cups is out there for you, and that you deserve that, and that it's waiting for you simply at your discretion to focus in that way. And yet, the focus is here. To me it feels it's almost like you're in both worlds simultaneously. And so it's all about, like, oh my God, how on earth am I going to deal with this? Where, okay, it would be so much easier for me to reinterpret this and say, well, oh, you're just, shrouded in misery, and you're, like, wondering, like, it's just like feeling sorry for myself kind of energy. But no, you're already above that and growing out of it to the point where you know exactly what we're talking about here. But how do you actually go through and live through the, what I would call, energy management process of completely redirecting an energy from here to here? So that feels to me, it's very, I hate to say it, well, very difficult. Okay, just give me a second also, I don't want to check, and this is personal now. Here's one of the problems that I've noticed about people, because I've done thousands of readings over the years, tarot and astrology and so on, but let's say the higher you go in your evolution or your frequencies at which you are loving and being loved, in other words, be loving, be loved, it's a question of what frequency. If you're operating like at the higher frequencies, and that is now your everyday default setting, can you see where it actually can become more and more difficult to operate? Because anything and everything that does not comport with your default settings up at these higher frequencies can actually really hurt and be very painful here. Just the littlest thing, because you already know what it's like to deliver, to be loving at those frequencies. And when you don't receive the reciprocal of those frequencies, it's almost like daggers in the heart. And so then you're stuck with this, like, you know, what the bleep, what the uck, you know, what's all this about evolution where you become more and more evolved and everything? I just turned into a Buddha and I'm smiling all the time. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. It might work for Buddha, but you only get so far that way. So my feeling is that for you, all son, it's like, this is really awkward. We've kind of touched on a very awkward thing. Jeffrey, yo! I just noticed you there. Hi, Jeffrey. All right, well, what's the challenge? Oh, gosh. Empress energy. This is a very powerful female energy presence in your life, in your world. I'm not going to go into names or anything like that, but you might be having deep concerns about a particular individual who basically embodies this energy of the Empress. The energy of benevolence, kindness, bounty, graciousness, fertility, abundance, beauty, love, all of it combined. But in this spread, in this position, we're putting this energy under consideration, like, oh my God, is this real? Is this available to me? Am I worthy? Or are they worthy of me? And so on and so on. I don't want to plant seeds here of any kind of where this should or shouldn't go. All I'm doing also is being the observer. Imagine, okay, remember with this, just imagine that any one of these is your energy, and you're just looking for reflection. And I, as your reader tonight, at this very moment in time, represent any one of these in opposition. In other words, I'm simply a mirror. So it's nothing personal about what I'm saying here. This looks very delicate, and it looks like it's very much to do with, I don't know how to say this without causing offense, but self-esteem. Like, am I worthy? Am I worthy? Are they worthy of me? Am I worthy of them? You're at this level of to me it feels like you're at this position with the oppositions where literally, again, there is nowhere to hide. Okay, I talked about this much earlier on. All these oppositions coming from multiple directions, nowhere to hide, where however comfortable or uncomfortable it might be, you're aware of your own natural talents, gifts, and resources, and the equivalent in a significant other, to the point where we're looking at the almost like the minute details and realizing, like, you can only go so far as you are able. And so if you feel like there are limitations in a situation or relationship dynamics, no matter how awesome you are, and no matter how awesome the other people might be, there's only so far that you can go, because you can only evolve as far as you can evolve. I mean, it sounds stupid the way I'm saying it, but that's what I'm trying to get here. And in order to tap into the true wealth, abundance, love of the situation, we're taking things to the very highest level of refinement and sophistication and intercommunication between self and other. So, again, going back to earlier in the reading, this is one of the problems that happens with people who are on an ascending pathway. You'd think, oh, life's going to get smoother, and I'm going to be zenned out and happy all the time. And instead, what happens is you run into more and more and more finely tuned and rarefied situations that require even deeper and deeper self-examination. Ah! All right, how are we going to deal with this? Wow. So with the Knight of Swords here, to me it feels like the only way out is through. Basically, radical honesty, radical truth, radical clear communication, no apologies, but it's also on the understanding that, to me, it looks like in your world going forward, whether we're talking about an individual or individuals or life or career or partnership or something like that. I don't want to get too personal here because this is a public reading. But what it looks to like me, with the reading here with the Knight of Swords, the way to handle it is standing in stark, naked truth and authenticity in such a way that you make it your business to bring yourself to the table. It's almost saying, okay, I'm going to do something really weird here. I hope this channel doesn't get shut down. Okay, it feels to me here like we're in a situation where the best thing to do is it's something like this. Okay, now pretend I'm acting right now, okay? I used to work in movies and TV. I was in Hollywood and I lived in LA for 20 years and my whole life was movies and TV until I got really sick. So, pretend I'm an actor and I'm acting as also, okay? So, what I'm sensing here with the Knight of Swords, the way to handle the situation is literally, basically, it's like a one-on face-to-face. It's almost like I'm pretending I'm talking to a significant other or myself in the mirror or the universe and life and the world and everything. And I say, listen, this is it. This is awesome. I give it all. Okay? I am a radiant being. I only want what's best for myself and for others. And I'm doing the best I can. This is it. This is all I've got. Nothing more, nothing less. This is it. So I'm showing you everything I've got. I'm showing everything. So how about a deal? I show you mine. You show me yours. And we'll go from there. I'm calling you out. I feel like I have to call myself out because I'm at a point of critical mass. I can't go further unless I get the next level of authentic reflection. And you know, okay, so that's the end of my little acting thing. Alright, so also, you know, like, people get to significant chapters in life and love and relationship where they get to a point of equilibrium where, like, oh, they have figured out to, let's say, conduct lives in a way that's workable. Like, I don't push things too far. I don't push things too far. Like, I allow for this. I allow for that. Deep down, you might be grumbling or compromising. Deep down, they might be grumbling or compromising. But there is equilibrium. But to me, it feels like we've broken through that point to where now it's just like equilibrium isn't going to work anymore. I need to go to the next level. I've got some issues. The only way I can address them is through you or by reflecting from you and back to you. And I'm willing to offer the same in return. I'm sorry if that sounds uncomfortable or if I'm breaking up the status quo or equilibrium, but that's how it is. I am all sun. If I don't do that, I'm not being true and honest to myself. So that's it. I'm calling it out. It's the Knight of Swords. It's taking me a lot of nerve to call this out. There are things that I would rather not say or think about or do, because I know by saying, thinking, or doing those things, I'm actually crossing a threshold and breaking up the status quo. But I'm a living, growing, evolving being, and I can't go any further unless I cross that threshold. And I need someone there to be for me, the way I'm there for them. Thank you very much. I hope that makes sense. So there's your reading. I hope that helps you all, son. I turned it from something cerebral and, let's say, academic into something personal and emotional right at the very end, so that you can actually feel it as though this is actually all about you rather than just a public academic exercise. Okay? Thank you very much, old son. It was an honor to read for you. Let's put this all together. Indigo, you are up. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, and then after that we have Tina. Thank you very much. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for being here. Yuri Eldad. Dumb AF. I think I know what that means, and it doesn't sound very nice. So, give me a second, people. I'm going to do a remove. I'll see what happens. If that comes up again, then I'll just do a surgical removal. There we go. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for the comments. Hope it worked. Hope it helps you all, son. Next up, Indigo. We're going to do a total blind reading. Got to shuffle it up. Give me a second here. I'm actually going to shuffle it up. Alright, we're shuffled up. That'll work. I don't know what happened to Yuri. Anyway, I had to delete that. Sorry, folks. So, dear Indigo Williams over there in Dallas, I know Texas has been going in my news feeds a lot recently. Here's good old Texas. Over here, and there is Dallas. Right there. Anyway, thank you for visiting. Gosh. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to dive in. Here we go. Here's the situation. It's the KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid. Duh. Alright. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. And here's how we're going to handle it, okay? It's kind of like a team effort. It's very, very neutral, the way I do these readings. And we're going to look at this energy. Again, I'm going to interpret it through the lens of the astrology, sacred geometry, alright? So I've got the Six of Pentacles here. So I feel there is a financial reckoning that has to be put front and center right now. Everybody on planet Earth right now, whether they like it or know it or not, are going through financial reckonings, because the whole of the global financial system is being restructured, whether you like it or know it or not. I wrote a whole book about it. I wrote the book probably 6 years ago, and it is all coming true today as we speak. Basically, the global financial system, which is based on fraud, theft, deception, betrayal, and fake money, is collapsing, and a whole new world is emerging in the shadows. The new world of finance is exactly 180 degrees diametrically opposed to the system that is collapsing. The system that is collapsing is a legacy of decades of fraud, betrayal, deception, lies, and abuse by a certain small group of elite folks at the very top of the global financial pyramid. And they are starting to run out of, let's say, options to keep the game going. So what's happening is that it's basically imploding. And the more it implodes, the more that they are using their standard playbook to keep it going. And the more they do that, the more it implodes. Okay? Now, this particular financial model that we're talking about, that affects the whole planet Earth, is physically centered here in the United States. At the very, very absolute core center of the whole thing is the United States Federal Reserve banking system. Okay? And that affects the whole of planet Earth in terms of economics and finance, wealth, and so on. So, everything that I just said on a global scale, Indigo, applies to you on a personal scale at the microscopic level. It's time for you to look at the world around you, your relationships with anyone and everything, and it's time to evaluate them. I mean, this might sound very insulting, but what does this look like to you in terms of an equation, a mathematical equation that is all condensed down into money, and where money represents value? Okay? How valuable are you to the people, enterprises, and situations who basically pump money into your life, and vice versa? How valuable are those entities to whom you pump energy into their life and their world? In simple terms, like, let's say you have an income, you have money that comes in from one way, and you have money that goes out in other ways. For a lot of people, money comes in from, let's say, a day job or a career, and then they spend it on things like, credit cards, mortgages, rent, college loans, car payments, car insurance, health insurance, savings plans, discretionary spending plans like going out for food or ordering fast food takeouts or going on a weekend vacation somewhere. So all of those things, all those aspects of your life can be translated and dumbed down into a dollar or an equation that can be measured in dollars, United States dollars. I mean, it sounds really, it almost feels like I'm being really offensive here. But that's what I'm sensing here for you. And so it becomes really important. I'm going very big and wide here, okay, Indigo? Like, how much value do you bring to them? How much value do they bring to you? And so on for here, and so on for here. And if there's something really out of balance with the equation, it needs to stop and needs to be recalibrated. Like if you are living heavily on credit cards or debt, and your income is only this, we have a problem. If your income is this, and you're already in a good position, but you're not managing things properly, like perhaps, maybe, like some people are out of balance with money where they do okay to the point where they actually become selfish, and instead of having an equal balance of sharing with their energy in the world, it's all about, I don't know, it's not hoarding, but it's almost like I have to get as much as I can as fast as possible for me right now, no matter what. That's not going to work. It has to be done in harmony and balance. So with the Six of Pentacles here, it's value and value systems. Like, what are you bringing to the world? And that includes life, love, relationships, things like jobs, time, any way that you expend energy. Look at it this way, okay, Indigo? For many, many times, for a lot of the time, just the place where you sleep and conduct your domestic life, it costs money. Utility bills, rents, mortgages, groceries, blah, 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 just to nurture the self. And then you go into the bigger world and you collect money, collect resources by offering your talents to the world. It has to be in equilibrium and balance. And the most obvious example is if you're in debt, or if you're getting further and further into debt with less and less value received, we have a problem. And so we start looking at the finances like, wow, perhaps we need to really do some serious restructuring with your finances. Jobs, overheads, expenses. Am I earning only this, but I'm spending that? Am I earning this, but I'm not allocating it properly in a way that's good for me in the long term? All of those things, we can deal with that. Anyway, what's the situation right now? Okay, so with the Nine of Wands here, it's really important to understand that this is a reading all about you and your life and your world and everything. And I'm going to say something which I hope you don't take it badly, but it's like you are the author of your own demise. Okay? So if there is, no matter whatever bad things are happening to you in your life and your world regarding finances, there's no escape except to admit that at some point or other you are part of that equation. Whether you were loaded up, for example, like if you were born and raised in such a way that you thought money worked like this or this or this or this, or you believe that your active daily life, which part of it generates so-called an income. Let's say you're fit and healthy enough to go out and do something in the world that generates an income. They call that a job or a career, and that brings money in. Okay? But if there's a severe imbalance, like there's this much coming in but that much going out, and it's like you're trying to make things work as if they could work when they're out of balance, but that's not possible here. So you end up in a situation where you realize, like, oh my God, like maybe I'm spending too much on rent or car payments or car insurance or health insurance. Have I got the right health insurance program? Am I living too extravagantly and then end up having to fight to try and justify my extravagance? Am I planning for my future? Have I neglected my future? Am I considering things like, Social Security and retirement and pensions, perhaps years and years from now? And if you're not doing that, that is a huge problem. So, like when I see the Nine of Wands here, to me, it's an indication that it's really important right now. It's really important right now to examine your finances and understand how, where, why, and when you personally actually made decisions that are ending up actually not working for you. And then you can look at yourself in the mirror and kind of go, oh, whoa, okay, well, that's how it is. But to me, it has to be neutral. In other words, there's no point in pointing fingers at, oh, I was raised this way, or I thought this, or I thought that, or I believe this, or I believe that. And if only that, no, none of that matters here. What counts is like the reality. The facts are that your financial reality, just like the financial reality of the United States and every American citizen, is in deep jeopardy right now. The same story applies to you. It's really, really important to look at your finances. Not just your checking account or your debit card or whatever, but in terms of like, how do you bring in money? How do you spend money? What is it that you value? What is it that you don't value? And then realize, like, wow, no one else can deal with this besides me. And you end up boxed up in a corner in a situation like, oh my God, now I see what you're talking about, TL. You've got to deal with this stuff, okay? Here's the problem. Let's have a look here. So whatever it is, life, love, relationships, jobs, careers, expectations, with the Eight of Cups here, there's a deep fear that, let's say, okay, this is going to sound really weird, so I'm just going to do it personally so there's no misinterpretation. To me, it feels like indigo. This feels like a very awkward moment where, let's just blame it on the full moon, where everything's brought out into the full open, where you don't have a choice, where you're in a situation right now where it's almost like this like slow realization, like, wow, why didn't anybody tell me any of this stuff before? What am I supposed to do? I was born and raised to think this, believe this, do that, do that. I'm a good person. I get readings from Tarot Lumination. I just want to be loving and be loved. And yet TL is telling me this story like, I got to look into the finances. The thing about finances is that they are a very like direct and blunt measure of what's happening in your life, in your world right now. A lot of people can't handle it. And so they subscribe and they allow themselves to become, let's say, absorbed into the world of fake money, thinking that I'm just going to go along with what they tell me is going to work. and everything will be fine. And then 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years later, you realize, oh my God, what was I thinking? So that's what I'm sensing here. It's almost like if you had some deeply cherished belief systems and operating systems, the way you've conducted your life, which has been working fine up to now, and then because of this reading, you're getting a message from TL that's basically saying, there's some things that are seriously out of whack with your understandings about money, finance, value, and values, and they have to be addressed. They have to be addressed now, and that means having to look in the mirror of relationships. Like, oh, okay, so TL, I know what you're saying. Like, so, like, for example, where did I go wrong? Where am I going wrong? Is it all the basic stuff, the obvious stuff? Start from the very top, the very basics, like credit cards, college loans, car loans, healthcare expenses, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly expenses, like you would manage your day-to-day budget. And then go deeper, like, how am I actually allocating my talents? If you look at talents as a measure of, like, nuggets of gold, that's what talents used to mean. Like, the talents, if you had, like, how many talents do you have? How many nuggets of gold do you have? What are you doing with that? Are you actually, like, wasting your talents, time, gifts, and resources in accordance with the deep fraud and propaganda and manipulation of the elites in such a way that you feel like you're living your best life possible? But what's actually happening is that you are being farmed, you're being depleted, and then you realize, oh my God, this is not acceptable. And so that you end up in a situation. Think, right now we have 5 planets retrograde, very deep, very heavy. So you might not have ever thought about your life from this perspective. But on what I'm sensing from this reading, is that it's time for you to really do an archaeological deep dive into your life and world and everything regarding money, values, value, finances, everything. What were you taught about money? What did you learn about money? What do you believe about money? Ask yourself all those questions and then come back and say, well, what's actually going on? Okay? This is a very awkward, difficult reading. I'm sorry. So, when I see the 8 of Cups here, to me it feels like it's a very emotional experience on the understanding, like, wow, I truly believed and subscribed to a whole, like, lifestyle, an agenda that I believed and I was born and raised into believing was good. And then I'm discovering that despite the best of intentions, we have a problem anyway. And then you have to deliberately mature and evolve and grow and walk away and go deep diving into what you could call the future to figure out, well, damn it, now that I've heard this reading from TL, what the bleep am I supposed to do now? Okay, so with the 3 of Wands here, my feeling is to, let's keep it simple. Let's reduce it down to like physics, laws of nature, and dynamics. We reap what we sow. So if you're born and raised in a life in a world about this is how life is, this is how money works, like you go out and get a job, a career, a degree, or whatever, and you pay for that, and then you eventually earn a living based on what you paid for. Well, that model is crumbling for a lot of people in America, especially younger people who are getting heavily in debt because they feel like the only way forward is to do something that requires college degrees, otherwise I'll never get a proper job, and so on and so on. And that belief system is becoming more and more exposed as being actually not quite what it is presented to be. Instead, it's more like a fraud. Some of the people who are being most hurt and most damaged in the United States are younger people who are trapped in debt, college loan programs and all of that, on the propaganda that was spewed onto them, and then realizing, oh my God, it's all a big heaping pile of dung. And so the way to go forward is like, don't take it personally, okay? This is a generic problem. It's happening at the level of the collective, especially for the United States, where the United States is going through massive convulsions right now, as it is slowly starting to realize that what they thought was like a financial system or status quo that left us, the United States and Americans, in the number one position on planet Earth, it all turns out to be fraud. Fraud. We can talk about this in private, Indigo, if you ever need a private reading, okay? So you end up in this position like, oh my God, it's not just you, Indigo, who got screwed over. There are millions of people in America who were born and raised and conditioned through propaganda by the elites that this is how you have to live life. Your job is to become a debt slave. Your job is to take on as much debt as possible and to enrich us, the elites. All right. So instead, you basically say, okay, now I understand in a bigger picture what's going on. I'm not going to take it personally. So what the bleep am I going to do now? Because then you start to realize, wow, I really am the author of my own demise. But on the other hand, you can be the author of your own success, your own abundance. It's energy management. What are you going to do with it? This is a very powerful card of energy. But over here, to me, I feel very calm when I see the Three of Wands here. To me, it makes me feel like all you have to do, Indigo, is understand that it's time to evolve, move, grow above and beyond your existing belief systems and understandings about life in the world and money and everything, and start planting seeds for the future where you get good outcomes. In other words, you do not plant seeds that benefit the elites and then you suffer the outcomes. You plant seeds. There's no Two of Wands here, okay? There's no Two of Pentacles. There's no Two of Cups. There's no Two of Swords here. But I'm kind of talking about those energies in the background. You go forward on the understanding that your so-called future, your so-called destiny, is based on decisions that you've made in the past. And if with this reading, if you're realizing like my decisions, a lot of my decisions that I thought I was making for my best outcome were actually done on autopilot based on conditioning, which is not good for your outcome. And then very tragically and sadly, you have to kind of put that into the history books and walk away and move forward in a way that's good for you. What is good for you is doing what is right, true, honest, and just in terms of your belief systems when it comes to money. How am I going to bring money in? How am I going to spend my money in such a way that is truly in harmony with my life going forward? It's almost like the worst thing you could do is build the rest of your life on your credit score and how much debt you can carry. Instead, going forward, it's like, how can I create financial abundance in harmony? Like, maybe now and again you do need a credit card. Maybe you do need a loan. But you do not shackle the whole life forward on the false belief that everything's going to be okay once I commit to a financial model that is fake. So what I'm sensing here for you, Indigo, is just like, let's treat this as a wake-up call. And no matter how painful, it's time to go forward and to restructure, realign yourself on the basic principles that you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. And if you want good outcomes, you have to plant the seeds for good outcomes. And those seeds have to be based on fundamental universal truth, universal laws, not on what was dumped on you or what was presented to you like as the standard system for living in America with American money, an American environment, American culture. It's crumbling, it's changing forever. It's time to look forward, say goodbye to the past, understand that unwittingly you've created the situations, but that's no judgment. This requires total forgiveness and then going back to the absolute basics of your life. Looking at your value systems, your talents, your gifts, your resources, your expenditures. Look at it like an accountant. Cash in, cash out. We have to have a balance, and in order to survive long term, you need to be in abundance. You need more coming in than is going out. And then you do it. In other words, it's like balancing the books of life. I hope that makes sense, okay, Indigo? Cheapers, I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Indigo. Tina, you're up. I like your note there, Tina. Let it burn and rebuild based on something real and honest. I totally agree. Thank you, Tina. Okay, I'm just going to shuffle up here. Give me a second, folks. Just want to do a little shuffle up. Okay. Oh, yikey, yikey. All right. So indigo, that felt to me like, sorry, indigo, here we go. So indigo over there in Dallas, to me it felt like part of me was like way, way high up in here in the clouds. And then I had to find a way to come back with my language in such a way that it would make sense to people, anyone down here on Earth listening. So it was actually very difficult for reading for me. I don't like to admit that, but it's one of the rare times where I would admit that, like, this was a really hard reading for me to deliver. Because it felt to me like I was covering such a huge, huge span between the story as I felt it over here, and then how do I translate that into something understandable here on planet Earth. Yeah. So I hope the reading helped you in some way. Okay, Indigo? Take care. Alright, we're going to move on. We got Tina up next. Hi Tina, I see the number. Answers, health, and Texas humility. Not quite sure I understand that. If you want to elaborate, Tina, feel free. I'm perfectly okay just doing a complete blind reading. I love doing those, as you know, but Tina, you're starting some intensive, extensive physical therapy. Okay. Wow. I hope you're not in too much pain. Do you see on the screen there, Tina? I'm looking at your chat very specifically. It says answers, health, and Texas humidity. So is that humility or humidity? You get it? Anyway, so Tina, if you want to bring a certain subject into focus, health, money, SAR, whatever it might be. Tina, as far as I recall, you are based in Houston, right? So that's two people here tonight in Texas. Thank you very much. Me neither. That's the problem. Need to focus. Okay. All right. So Tina, before I even get into your reading, when you talked about the need to focus, let me just give you like a way out. With all this energy here of oppositions, okay, Sun opposite Jupiter, Mercury opposite Neptune, Venus opposite Chiron. That's a ton of oppositions. It's all happening simultaneously right now tonight. It's to the point of overwhelming, okay? So, let's say you're used to living your life in a certain way where you are highly focused and you can do this and that and that and that. And you take care of business in certain ways that you've learned how to do because you're at this point in life where I know how to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And I've committed to that, that, and that, and that. I live in Houston. It's very humid. It affects my behavior, my thought processes, my decision making, blah, blah, blah. Fine. Okay. But we're going into the next kind of level here. You just put a note on the screen. It's getting harder to breathe and walk. Well, Tina, if you want, I'd be very happy to share with you something here. I've lived in lots of different places. Extreme cold, extreme heat, extreme dryness, extreme humidity, and combinations of all the above. And I'm at a point right now where just the slightest shifts and changes above comfort zone are really like hard for me. So when you have intense heat combined with intense humidity, that's debilitating to the point where you might be finding it harder to breathe and walk. That would be normal, okay? I totally get it. There are conditions where I've lived where it's very hard to breathe, very hard to walk, just to even move around, simply because of the intense heat and the humidity, or just the intense heat, or just the intense humidity. Put it all together. Anyway, so yeah, those physical worldly conditions have a huge impact on your functionality as a human being. I was talking to Love Triber earlier today about these, actually it was late last night. I was talking about like human behavior and how it changes in different parts of the world. Give me a second, I'll show you. So Tina, don't be too hard on yourself. Okay, this is the traditional map of the world. Here is the equator, okay? As you can see, most of the inhabited land of humanity is northern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere, we have parts of South America, Africa, Australia, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and New Zealand. But everyone else is far north. The vast population of humanity lives north of the equator. And as you know, Tina, there's huge climate in, let's say, what's the word? Huge climate events happening right now, a lot of them in the northern hemisphere, which is impacting human behavior to the point where can you even stay alive? All the chaos and flooding and destruction happening in China, all over in Europe, okay? All the extreme drought over here. Extreme over here in Las Vegas. 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was 121 degrees Fahrenheit. Right here. Try living in that. Now, I know, Tina, you're over here somewhere around the Houston area. So it gets very hot and it gets very humid. And it's perfectly normal in those conditions to find it difficult to breathe and walk, because the human body is not designed to operate in extreme heat and extreme humidity simultaneously. So, you have an excuse. You can blame it on the climate. There we go. I just wanted to add that before we even go into the reading, just based on your notes there. All right. Cards are well shuffled. You know what, I'm actually just going to do a little bit more to get to the last second so that I feel confident personally that the deck is ready to go. I know we already did the full shuffle, but I just want more. Okay? Again, Tina, well, anyone who's watching, we're going to do Tina's reading in just a second. But I just wanted to share, Tina, that weather and climate makes huge impact on our lives and our physical bodies. I've lived in conditions and I've done things to the point where I was suffering from hypothermia, intense cold, and my hands and arms would not work properly. And it was my own fault because I wanted to go on these ridiculous adventures into deep snow and ice and cold conditions way up in the north of England on a motorcycle. I mean, how stupid is that? So I brought about my own demise. And also over here on the other end of the spectrum with heat, over here in Las Vegas, I've been living here for almost a year now, and I've had what I would consider one serious heat stroke and two minor heat strokes. And that's purely a result of myself making a decision like, I'm going to go out and live my life anyway. It's really hot out there, but I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that anyway. And I'm sorry, the human body is not built for these kinds of things. The human body can only handle so much cold. It can only handle so much heat. It can only handle so much dryness and so much humidity. And after that, we become inoperable. We stop functioning. And I think more and more people across the world are starting to realize that, simply because we have 7.5 billion people alive, and a ton of them are having to deal with climate crises. The climate crises are directly correlated to Uranus and Taurus, by the way. So, in other words, everything's just fine, everything's normal. But it's still up to us as individuals. How are we going to deal with this? So, in other words, the subject of climate migration is going to become more and more common in the human dialogue over the next few decades. All right? Tina, cards are well shuffled, so we're going to just dive right in. Or at least you're admitting it here on camera, on the chat in public, that you knew it was going to be a problem moving back here. And it's a simple one. Just, Houston, it gets very hot and very humid in the summer. That's what it is. That's it. You can guarantee that there are thousands of other Houston people who agree with you. It gets really hot and really humid. And that puts a lot of pressure on the human body. No matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're an Olympic athlete or a cripple in a wheelchair. It doesn't matter. Here we go. I'm doing this again. Alright, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Let's have a look at environmental influences. I think of the sacred geometry. Here we go. We have the Ace of Cups. Okay. To me, it feels like we're at a moment of golden opportunity. I think this is associated with the full moon that just happened, where the Ace of Cups energy is basically, it's kind of like, to me it feels like a big, fat, warm hug around you, Tina, where, let's bring in the previous the conversation before we got to this point, where, yeah, you already knew it's going to be a problem. You've got certain, let's say, agendas, hopes, aspirations that you want to do this SAR, search and rescue, with your beautiful furry friend. I forgot the name. And with the Ace of Cups here, to me it feels like it's so important that you grab every opportunity in front of you to, I would say, this might sound a very strange interpretation, but to treat yourself. It's a really, really good time to do exactly what is right for you, the way it fulfills you in the depth of your heart and soul. So if you want to do SAR, you want to do search and rescue, and you've got your beautiful furry friend with you, and you're trying to get them conditioned and ready for that work, that's great. The Ace of Cups, I also associate that with the ability to be a transceiver. In other words, the ability to receive and transmit the healing power of love. Now the thing is, Tina, I'm just going to share with the public in case they don't know, you are already a kind of loving caregiver by nature anyway, because you've spent years in the career of helping other people, and you're taking it to the next level because you can't help yourself. It's almost like you're a compassion junkie. I have a little bit of that in myself, so I understand. In some ways it's not healthy. You have to learn how to moderate that. So it sounds to me like you have a deep, compelling desire to do this SAR thing with your furry friend, Ava. There it is, Ava. And let's just say, let's get this, like, let's make it relevant. Like, you're talking about Ava doesn't actually like jumping in the water. So what are you going to do now? How does that new opportunity to be the most awesome transceiver of the healing power of love look like? In other words, the ability to transmit and receive the healing power of love. That's how I look at the Ace of Cups. And so, gosh, this is a difficult... I don't know why these readings tonight are really challenging. But anyway, what I'm sensing is that for you, Tina, with the Ace of Cups here, is that we're taking things to the next level. Like, you've already made a decision. You're already established in Houston. You've got Ava, and you want to do SAR. From my perspective as your reader, this is an extension of your already pre-existing energy and your default setting to be a transceiver of the healing power of love, to be a transmitter and a receiver. You have to receive the healing power of love before you can transmit it. Okay? And long ago I used to do all sorts of videos about that stuff, but I don't have the time or the energy right now to do that, so I don't. But in this situation, Tina, with your reading, I think it means, like, we're looking at, like, focusing down tighter, focus tighter. How does this look for you? What does this look for you? Like, since it's almost like, since you are committed, it's like you've made this commitment to be this new what's the word? This new interpretation of yourself, which includes Ava. And you have all the other situations with friends and family going on in Houston. That's fine. But it feels to me like your core agenda is to take things to the next level. Not only do you want to be a transceiver, like you were already doing as a traditional medic. Everybody needs to know Tina is has been with the channel for a long time, very supportive, and Tina is a professional healer, okay? But things change. At the core, still being a professional healer, but what does that look like now? So in Tina's world, it's looking like being the custodian of an SAR dog, search and rescue, Ava. And Ava is still a puppy. And So to me this looks like a big question mark surrounding the situation, looking at your world around you, again going to the oppositions, looking at your world around you in very stark awareness. What does my life look like compared to the world around me? The world of Ava, the world of Houston, the world of the weather, the people, the ways that you can actually physically be useful in the Houston environment regarding search and rescue. So you can actually manifest and actualize this ambition to take your compassion to the next level. So you're getting feedback. You're getting feedback from, well, Terra Lumination right now, but also from the world around you. You've just discovered that dear sweet Ava is not actually very keen on search and rescue missions or sniffing out dead bodies that involve jumping into water. That's a problem. So we have to examine that. New opportunities, new starts, new beginnings. So that means kind of looking at everything from the big lens. What's the situation itself? Okay, with the Devil card here, my feeling is that it's like you're struggling with predetermined expectations of certain outcomes based on your desire to take things to the next level. It's a very natural desire for you as a compassionate person. I'm not going to say compassion junkie anymore. I think it's better just to say a compassionate person, that you want to take it to the next level because that's the natural pathway of evolution. And it feels to me like you're starting to realize that, wow, I have really tied myself up into expectations. It's like you're strapped in to expectations, and then realizing, wow, I can only go as far as those limitations allow. And I just saw your note on the screen. You're going to get a real estate license too. That's great. And Ava is going to work on land only. So that means learning and realizing how to live within the restrictions and the challenges and limitations of facts and reality. Ava is not suitable or interested in working in water. It doesn't mean she can't be a good SAR dog. Also with the Devil card, what I'm sensing here is that you have placed a lot of expectations on yourself to the point where that's actually a problem. Instead of kind of more fluidly going with the flow, you're in a situation where you've laid out a certain level of expectation in how you would like it to show up in your life, in your world, and then you are bound to that. And so when those expectations are not met, that can feel almost like a betrayal, or like, well, how am I supposed to be Tina Miller if I can't be the full magnificent version of Tina Miller, and I have to live within the restraints of my current three-dimensional reality? Damn it. Okay, another notes here from Tina. Her team does not work in water. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we're squashing things down into what is actually workable and acceptable. Hello, Robin. Hi. Everybody out there needs to know Robin is a reader herself. Most of you know that already. So what's the challenges here? Okay, Tina? Okay, to me, I feel like there's a high degree of innocence here. So with the Page of Wands, it's just like, the problem is, all I ever wanted was to do the right thing, be the right thing, in a way that encapsulates the Ace of Cups energy. All I want to do, it's really simple. It's so simple. I am compassionate by nature. All I want to do is put my power and energy and my natural resources behind that natural momentum to be compassionate and caring for others. But what I'm sensing here with the Page of Wands is like there's this part of you which is like, it's almost like you're punishing yourself for being so naive. Like, wow, I didn't know it was going to be so complicated. I didn't know that I might have had really good noble ambitions, and only to discover that I have to live within strict limitations of physical reality in how things actually play out in my life and my world. Luckily, this is just a mini tarot reading. I'm not forecasting your future. You're not asking me to forecast your future. I'm doing it. This is diagnostics. We are examining the situation and figuring out what's not working, what does work, and where do we go from there. That's all. Okay, Tina came out with another disclaimer on the screen here. It says, I will need more money till retirement age because I dipped too heavily with the remodeling. Okay, well that's normal, you know. Everybody who's at that point in life where they are looking at the later stages, like, well, what am I going to do now? I've already lived a full and productive life, and I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor, but taking it to the next level, like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Because Tina, it looks to me like you're looking into the future. It's time, you got to start making plans for the future, and obviously you want to do the right thing. But you're learning very quickly, very quickly, that there's no pentacle cards here, but you got to take those pentacles into account. Let's have a look going forward how we're going to deal with this. King of Swords. Okay. So, and to me it feels like a tremendous sense of relief that the King of Swords is here, because to me it feels like we're taking everything back to facts, information, truth, knowledge, reality, numbers. Like, the way to deal with whatever is not working in your life right now, okay, Tina? Like the climate restrictions, how it's affecting your body, your continued natural desire and momentum to be a conduit, an instrument of the healing power of love. How's that going to all work out, given that you came into this with the best of intentions, and that's all you ever wanted, and that's all you ever want for the future? But having to deal with the reality that's very restrictive, like, oh my God, I have to live within a budget. I have to live within a long-term budget. I have to live within restrictions, limitations. Let's blame it on Saturn, for example. Restrictions and limitations regarding long-term finances, money coming in, money going out, obligations, commitments, contracts between yourself and between yourself and others. What's that going to look like? So it says here on the notes, you did increase the value of the home by more than $100,000. Obviously, that's an amazing thing. But what happens in a lot of situations with people in real estate, they start to think like, wow, now I have all this. How do I capitalize on that? I will sell this for that much. But then where do you go from there? Because it's very possible that you can start looking at a world where everything else is inflated to that level. I don't want to go into the real estate too deeply here, but with the King of Swords, the way to handle the situation is like, just like, deal with the facts. Deal with raw truth, information, as opposed to your ambitions or your wishes or the fears of the restrictions that you have. Because it feels to me like what really, really counts here is that you can still be the Tina Miller that you are at your core, which is basically an instrument of the healing power of love. But what's that going to look like going forward? So you're still in the position of transition and you're starting to restructure a new life. You said you're going to go for your realtor license. So it's obvious the momentum here is that with a realtor license that's taking charge of the future and doing, I guess, essentially what works for you. But with the King of Swords, it means having to be, to me, it almost feels like ruthlessly honest about the facts about how your life is unfolding right now. Right now. Tina makes another note here. Second Saturn return at 28 degrees Aquarius. Okay, so Tina, just for references, really thank you for putting that up there on the screen. Here is Saturn right now. It's at about, 10 or 12 degrees Aquarius. So Tina shared with us that her second Saturn return is going to be happening at 28 degrees Aquarius, which is roughly here, where Jupiter is right now. So that's going to be at least another year or so. So when it comes to the Saturn return, as most of you know, it can be a challenging time in life where you get serious reality checks, where you start to see your life as the outcome of decisions, the outcome of desire, the outcome of momentum, the outcome of intentions. And for you, Tina, it's always good, it's always in the right direction, but what does that look like going forward? So, for example, you're talking about real estate. Okay. Since I've been working with you, Tina, over the years, you are a compassionate person, mostly working with taking care of other people in a healthcare environment. But if you're starting to move into another world where you're thinking of how can I best be my most awesome self, and that looks like maybe getting a real estate license, then bring it on. The King of Swords is basically saying, please, Tina, let's work and do what is exactly right for us, you, me. That's the laws of the universe, facts, information, truth, and your, I would just say, your destiny going forward. So with the King of Swords here, the way to deal with your situation is understand. So in a way, Tina, you're kind of giving me lots of help and support in the reading. It's like if you're heading towards this second Saturn return, then the way I look at it with this reading, you're already doing the best thing that you can, and you're making bold decisions to break out of fixed, limiting conditions, expectations of circumstance, and go forward boldly, which might be a bit scary, into something that is much more effective and true and honest for you. For example, let's say you do get your real estate license and you become proficient in real estate. Does that mean you're no longer compassionate, or does this mean this is a new higher level interpretation of yourself and how you can be an instrument of the healing power of love? Because look at it this way, a really good realtor is good at finding the opportunity that works for the buyer and the seller and themselves. How do I know this, Tina? Tina, this is really important. This real estate license. The reason I I'm aware about this energy is because I had a long-term relationship with a partner who went into real estate because it seemed like the right thing to do. No matter whatever else happened in her life before that point, and guess what happened? She was good at it. She was a natural, and she became successful. And what that really translated into is that she became very good at matching up a buyer with a seller so that it was mutually beneficial. And in return, she was well compensated as a successful professional realtor. So if you are looking into that as a path forward for you, that is another form, like a very indirect, incongruous form of compassion, like being an instrument of the healing power of love. Because look at it at this level. You're delivering a service. You know? If you can be the intermediary between a buyer and seller, a seller and a buyer, where both parties are looking for what's best for them, and you can make that happen, that is a gift. That is a gift to both sides, and you are rewarded accordingly. So I understand your story, Tina. The thing is, it's so important to stay absolutely true to the laws of the universe. In other words, let's say you pursue the real estate, and let's say you keep going with Ava and the search and rescue. You can't get into it motivated by, let's say, greed or the desire to make a ton of money so that you can catch up to where you left off, where you put too much into the remodeling or whatever. Instead, it's really about reformatting yourself to the next version of you, where you can still be the core version of you, which is that Ace of Cups energy. Okay, get it? That's your natural default setting, but it might be getting expressed in a new environment. Perhaps that new environment is like, okay, a combination of search and rescue. That's very benevolent. You're offering your services that way. But also as a realtor, if you can be, let's say you get your license, and you can be the kind of realtor who's actually good for both sides, that's kind of cool. Yeah. I get it. I understand it. Okay, Tina, let's go back. So again, over here with the King of Swords energy, the way going forward, given that you've confided so much information in the chat, King of Swords energy, it's a loud message to make sure you get your qualifications, get your certificates, pass your exams, do things, whatever you have to do to get that license. I'm kind of taking lots and bits and pieces of your reading from what I'm sensing here, from what I know from working with you before, and from the information that you're sharing with us on the chat. So it's all being cobbled together and squashed into this one reading. So it looks to me like, oh, absolutely, freaking go for it. Get that license. Do whatever you have to do to get that license. Give yourself permission to break free of the bondage that keeps you locked into previous lifestyle expectations. Let's just say that's gone, it's done, it's over with. What counts is the future. Where are we going to go now? How are we going to do that? Let's not be scared. It's time to carve out a new future. And if that includes getting your realtor's license, freaking go for it. Absolutely. There's plenty of room and space. The way I look at it, Tina, from here, there's plenty of room and space for you in Houston to do exactly what you just described. Get your real estate license. You already have experience with real estate anyway, because you've been a buyer and a seller in your own world, and you've had to engage with realtors. Not everybody knows about that stuff, but you do. So that's tremendously to your advantage. Okay, so that's your reading. I hope it makes sense. Obviously, Tina, all the best. It's going to be very interesting to see how all this unfolds. I am very intrigued. Take your time, no rush. I want to add something about real estate. Give me a second here. Sorry, I need to shuffle things. I'm going to shuffle things up. And then I'll be back in just a second. Okay. Okay, so give me a second. Hey, Tina. Tina, as a lot of you know, I'm staying over here in Las Vegas. Luck Triber is a dear friend, and it's working out really well. Okay. And sometimes I get in conversations about real estate. You know, you get to a point in life where the subject of real estate becomes very important. Where are you going to live? Where are you going to sleep? I mean, it's kind of at the core of the American economy, right? And so what I wanted to mention, Tina, is that in case you're not aware of it, the federal government and the banking elites in the United States are starting to operate as wholesale buyers. They are coming in with free money from the U.S. Federal Reserve, and they're buying out properties wholesale. Complete neighborhoods, complete portfolios, complete packages of real estate all across America. And it's part of the NEW, WORLD, ORDER agenda, where you will so-called Own nothing and you will be happy. It's a massive utopian nightmare. I'm not affected personally, but I'm seeing it right in my face. What's happening is these big mega banks and REITs. REITs are real estate investment trusts. They are going all across America. They are scouring the cities to buy up property wholesale. So, Tina, you're probably aware that in the real estate market there are independent operators who make it their business to offer cash buy to people who are in very distressed situation with their housing and their mortgages or something. And they come along with this amazing gift like, don't you worry, I will buy your house cash right now. Just sign here, walk away, no problems, no questions. Okay, got it? That same business model is now being activated. They're using it. It's like it's predatory buying. It's buyers who are preying on those who are suffering. And of course, in the United States, there are a lot of people in real estate who are suffering tremendously because of the CHINA bug, DIVOC 91. Okay? So it's a golden opportunity for the predators to come in. So that's what they do. I will buy your house for cash right now. Best offer. Sign here. 7-day close, no questions asked. You get a pile of money, you walk away free and clear. Any dirty, ugly little messes left over, we'll take care of that. Okay, so that's happening all across America right now. And the way it's happening is through proxy buyers, proxy realtors, real estate agents who are operating incognito on behalf of the federal government and the banking elites over in NYC, WALL Street. Okay? That is happening right now. It's a massive wholesale it's like profiting off of the devastation of the lockdowns. And it's working. There are a lot of people who are in so much trouble with their finances, their housing, their mortgages, their payments, their rent, whatever it is. They are basically saying, oh, okay, that's really cool. Oh, click. I got this email from you. I got this text that came up in my social media, blah, blah. I will buy your house for cash right now. Okay? You're not just looking at telephone poles in your neighborhood with a square, piece of cardboard stuck on there with staple gun. I buy a house for cash. Call me now. 111-222-3333. It's being done by Wall Street. Wall Street is doing it now. And what they're doing is that they are taking on real estate agents who are already experienced and successful and have a portfolio and a dialogue with their local community. So your notes there, it says there's a company that will make an offer on your house, then sell it, and you don't have to go through showing and closing, but it's not for distressed sellers. Okay, so I'm just saying, Tina, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that that is what's happening right now. Some of these programs are actually proxy programs for Wall Street wholesale REITs, real estate investment trusts. It's not like it's just some local, property development real estate company that's trying to help out local people in Houston. It's happening across the whole country. Okay? Because what's happening is Wall Street is doing anything and everything they can to scoop up real estate so that they own it. You might have heard the expression, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And the pathway to get there is that the government owns everything and you have nothing. And you become a slave. So just be very, very careful. Be very, very careful, okay, Tina? Because you've got to understand what is your role in this situation. Are you a facilitator? Are you a debilitator? Anyway. It's happening all over the country. Thank you for your notes there, Ivona. It's happening all over the country. Super, ultra seductive, highly aggressive entities are starting to attack homeowners. Even if you've never even considered selling your home, they are coming in so aggressively saying, like, hey, no questions asked. Sign this. We give you a pile of money right now. You walk away. We walk away. Bye-bye. It's happening all over America. And that's all part of the COMMIE agenda, where you will own nothing. Does that mean you'll be happy? I don't know. They're telling you, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Those are the words of a dictator. That's not the words of a loving entity. So just take that into account, okay? Yes, Tina, it is an option for sellers, yeah. Again, maybe it works for some people. Maybe for some people it's the best thing ever. It's a freaking miracle. Ends up in their life right now. Wow. No questions asked. I'm gone. I'm done. I'm out of here. And what happens is that the United States Federal Reserve, in collusion with Wall Street and the real estate investment trusts, become the ultimate landlords. This is taking us into a whole new world of COMMUNIST lifestyle. Just wanted to put that out there, okay? So there we go. Thank you, Tina. It's been a pleasure, as always, to read. That's the end of the show, folks. It's been a wonderful time. I'm just going to hang out for a few minutes in the chat, see what's going on. Cheers, everybody. So just be aware. Okay. It's not like I'm some kind of guru know-it-all and I can see all this from outer space. But on the other hand, that's exactly what I'm seeing personally. The story that I just described to you, Tina, applies to the whole of the United States, okay? the whole of the United States real estate market is being approached in the way that I just described. There you go. No, Tina, I see what you're saying, TL. I think we're talking about two different things. I can see why you would say that. We can follow up on this another time. I have no problem. I would love to do that. If you want to shoot me a few emails, I'll work through this with you. I would love to help out in any way that I can. So I'm going to leave that on an ambiguous note and let things just hover for your consideration, for my consideration, for our consideration. All right, so let's leave it at that, folks. It's been a pleasure. It's been a wonderful time. I've really enjoyed hanging out with you. I wish I could do more. I wish I could do better, but this is how it is for now. Take care, everybody. I'm going to sign off now. I don't have any more readings booked, so we're just going to go from there. Thank you very much. Remember, love thyself. Oh, we just, by the way, as you know, we just had this full moon. The sun was like in, I think, 28 or 29 degrees Leo, and the moon was 28, 29 degrees Aquarius. The moon is already, the moon is already in Pisces, like 3, 5, 10 degrees or whatever. And tomorrow, the sun is going to move into Virgo. So we're going to have kind of a loose opposition there. Virgo-Pisces opposition. Anyway, stay awake, keep your eyes open, observant, neutral. Don't take it personally. Just observe what's happening out there and do some calculations. What does this mean to you? How does this relate to you? How are you going to protect your money, protect your privacy, protect yourself in the years ahead? Because there are irreversible, massive changes happening in the global financial system, also global political systems. So please be aware of that. And it is going to affect everyone here in the United States. Well, actually, everybody in the world. It's going to play out long term. I'm talking about the Pluto cycle and how it affects the United States and how that has a ripple effect across the rest of the world, especially for the next few years till 2023, 24, where we're reaching the end of a Pluto cycle, the Pluto cycle for the United States. And then we enter a brand new Pluto cycle with Pluto in Aquarius. It's going to be a total freaking game changer. Revolutionary upheaval, radical demands for freedom, liberty, privacy, decentralization, honesty, truth, and whatever works for the community as opposed to whatever works for an elite selection at the very top of the pile. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to wrap it out now. Okay? Yeah. So chat amongst yourselves for a few minutes, but I'm basically done here. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to start wrapping things up.